Hello everyone and welcome to another List Crunch video, which is a weekly show that I do normally on Patreon, where Patreons can submit an army list for Warhammer 40,000, the tabletop game, and I sort of read them and give my thoughts and discuss them. And you can learn, you can adapt, you can take ideas of what I think is good or not good, or things like that. I've decided to release this for everybody on YouTube just as a thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching and supporting the channel and all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. Also give everybody sort of like a little bit of a behind the scenes of what goes on the Patreon, which is stuff that I just do all the time. But most of my content is just out here. And you get to enjoy it for a little bit. We've got, I think, about 6 to 8 lists that I'm going to be going over today. And feel free to ask questions, put a comment. If you'd like to submit a list, it's for Patreon, so that's completely up to you. But other than that, hello, Captain Athenos, Diego. Good evening, welcome. I'm excited to go through this. We're going to start with the Patreon submitted ones on the page, and then we'll go from there. And yeah, looking forward to hanging out. And it's Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and I'm Skari. If that wasn't, apparent. Although I am a parent. Just ask my kid. Okay. Demark asks, are you sure you are Skari? Yes, I think I am. Demark asks, an attempt at a competitive real space raid fusing some of your ideas with others I've encountered. Ooh, I love fusion of idea lists. Right now, I'm playing a real space raid detachment competitively. Talos, Kronos, Blackheart, Artists of the Flesh, Cult of Red Grief. And I get to take it, and I've been testing it out. It's been successful in my test games. Tomorrow I'm going to a Rogue Trader tournament, three rounds. I get to test it, see how it works. So it's nice to see other people pick up, like yourself, like that specifically. So we're looking at a battalion, Blackheart, Cult of Strife, and Artists of the Flesh. With a Master Archon, Jimblade, Ancient Evil, with Raid Mastermind, of course. Master Succubus with a Triptych Whip, Competitive Edge, and Adrenaline. And then a Master Homunculus with the Poisoner's Ampule and Twisted Animator to bring back some racks. I like that. A Court with 4 Slith, 4 Urgle. Just pretty standard stuff. 10 Trueborn, double Blaster Dark Lance. 10 Hemoxites, double Ossifactor Electro Whip. 5 Witches, 5 Witches, 5 Racks, 5 Racks. Very similar layout of troops that I take when I'm taking a real space raid. However, I've recently been moving away from Trueborn. I know, weird. But I've been just trying out smaller Cavalite Warrior units to throw away instead of having points. They're great, don't get me wrong. I've just been testing different things. Diego says that Red Grief is kind of fun to play. Very much fun to play. Then we have 5 Incubi, 5 Incubi, 5 Mandrakes, 5 Mandrakes, 9 Hellions, 3 Reavers, 3 Talos, with Ichors, Scalpels, and Heat Lances, and 3 Raiders. So questions for the list itself. What is your opinion on the Slith Urgle Court, basically waiting around in the backfield till their turn 3, 5 up in ball, then walking up the board to try and dominate an objective? I would be running a court if I owned the models for a court. I do not own the models for a court, which means I don't play with them. I've tried a small court when I was like doing a couple bat routes at Mini Wargaming. They have Slith and Urgles, and I was able to cobble one together, and it is a very, very point-efficient unit. So I like the Court of the Archon with the Urgle and the Slith for a Drukhari list. Now, in terms of while we stand, we fight in this list, you've got the Hellions, the Talos, and I believe the Court. And that makes me nervous. I don't like having aggressive units as something that you could make a while we stand, we fight. Like in my real space raid detachment, I do have the Talos and the Kronos as while we stands, But then I have my Master Homunculus as the third while we stand, we fight, which then makes him like really tough to get rid of because he's like surrounded by Talos and Kronos, and it makes it easy for me to sort of hide a pocket resistance or keep them relatively close or in an area where it's going to be hard for the opponent to kind of deal with. Plus, they kind of support each other to keep each other alive, and I like that. So just something to keep in mind. The list is good. You could just tweak it. Like, do you need the Ossifactors and the Electro? The Electrope is good, but do you need like 2 Ossifactors? You could just use 1, and then potentially put a blast pistol in the Trueborn and make them 4 weapons. Dark Lights, at least to really hone in on that ballistic skill too. There's the Cult of Strife in a real space raid is less effective because you don't get access to all the Strife stratagems, which is one of the reasons I've taken Cursed Blade or Red Grief when I'm going for a real space raid, simply because those 2 witch cults work better within the parameters of a real space raid without having to spend the command points to then take a secondary patrol to fill up with witches to get access to the Cult of Strife stuff. So just something to keep in mind. Other than that, it's very similar to what I'm running, as you know. And I don't see any Venoms. Okay, that's fair enough. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of Venoms. I like Venoms. And I think maybe adding 1 or 2 in is just easy to hide, really, in like more sparse tables. And I like putting the Cavalite Warriors in them because they're cheap and have a blaster in each one. So it gives you access to some anti-tank in addition to, them being like a little unit. But thank you for your, hopefully that helps. Just think about that. So Mike submits a list. He says, first time trying out Chaos. I want a fun thematic list to use that can still be somewhat competitive. Now, first and foremost, caveat aside, Chaos in like the tier list is probably in the down low part of the tier list. However, there are some people who show good results with the list, like with Chaos. So don't be discouraged. It's just going to be harder than playing with like Admech or Drukari. Can you get results? Sure. Is it going to be harder? Yes. So let's see what you've cooked up. You want to rush the board with Molophenes on turn 1, turn 2 with the Lord Discordant. The Terminators walk up and take hold middle objectives. The Marines and Cultists screen and deep strike block. You want to keep the Sorcerer and Master possession near the Havocs. Bring the Obliterators out turn 2 or turn 3. Plan to put Chaos Lord and Warp Talons into reserve. Okay, interesting. Let's take a look. So we have a Battalion Detachment, Chaos Space Marines, Alpha Legion. Now, if you're going to be doing any legions, Alpha Legion are really good, Emperor Children. And Word Bearers have some pretty funky stuff. And you can still do a lot of the mixed detachments with Chaos, I'm pretty sure, like weird mixed detachments. It's just having 1 less wound really stings in a lot of the meta. You have a Specialist Detachment, the Soul Forged Pack. Now, as a reminder, Specialist Detachments cannot be used in match play in terms of like tournament play. So they have some really cool rules. However, this would be more for like narrative play. You're not allowed to use a Soul Forge pack in like a GT mission pack mission, technically. Now, if you and your friends want to play with Specialist Attachments, go right ahead. Chaos Lord, Lord Discordant with Marcus Lanesh. Yep. Sorcerer Terminator Armor, cool, with Marcus Lanesh as well. 5 Chaos Space Marines, 5 Chaos Space Marines, 5 Chaos Space Marines. Okay. 2 units of 5 Terminators, Marcus Lanesh, Combi Plasma, and Lightning Claw. Chaos Spawn for some, stuff. 5 Warp Talons, double Moral Fiends, and 3 Obliterators. And then a second patrol of Alpha Legion with another with a Master Possession, 9 Cultists, and then 4 Havocs with Last Cannons. So the Last Cannons sit back and shoot. The Cultists hold objectives. Master Possession, makes things annoying to kill. And then the Terminators put a lot of pressure in the mid-board. So I can see what you're going for here. The Chaos Space Marines, sadly, are like the odd ones out. You're getting 5 wounds for 70 points, where you can pay 50 points to get 10 cultists. Like, you're probably better off just switching all of the Chaos Space Marines for cultists. Or making the secondary patrol a patrol of Huron Blackheart guys, the Red Corsairs, is that what they're called? And then have your 15 Space Marines and like one of the sorcerers in that detachment to then get additional command points. And then get the ability to like recycle a unit of Chaos Space Marines and then use it as like outflanking stuff. So there's some cool stuff in there that you can use if you decide to mix your legions, which I think is always a good idea. Now, as for the Terminators with comic plasmas, Alpha Legion is great, but they work really nicely in an Emperor's Children detachment, which then gives you access to Honor the Prince, which allows them to deep strike and then change one of the charge roll dice to a 6, which means if you roll a 3 on either of the dice, you make that charge with a command point, making it incredibly tough to deal with. And there's Slanesh, which you're already using anyway. Plus, it gives you access to Noise Marines, which I feel are just better than Space Marines. Okay, but thank you for the list. You know, you've got the Mauler Fiends, of course, are like, they're very aggressive and get in your face. You know, if you could heal them easily or easier, that would probably be better. And they do a surprising amount of damage. They just are like an expensive dreadnought that can't shoot, really. So you want to really kind of, you have to try and get them in as quickly as possible. I like the Obliterators, though. They're fun. They are really fun. And then in Be'lakor, if you start looking at Chaos lists with Be'lakor, making the Obliterators like immune to being shot, very similar to Alpha Legion, but then having access to like re-rolling all misses from like, you know, Be'lakor and like just a whole bunch of other things you can do. There's some cool interactions with that as well. Chris Ludvigsen posted a list as well. So let's take a look at that. Here's my list. Patrol detachment of, it's a Drukhari, I'm assuming triple patrol, with a Black Heart detachment. You're looking at an Archon, Ancient Evil, Blast Pistol, Hustblade, standard build. 10 Cavalite Trueborn with Dark Lance Blast Blaster, Phantasm Blast Pistol. So you went a little bit expensive on the Trueborn, sure. 5 Incubi, 5 Incubi. 2 Ravagers. Now, the Ravager's an interesting choice. I've been teetering with putting one into my Real Space Raid detachment because I've taken the Trueborn out. Now, because you still have the Trueborn in there, the Ravager's use is less apparent. However, it's a very cheap way of getting a bunch of Dark Lances. If they were like 10 points cheaper, they would be like probably perfect. Flyer. A Void Raven Bomber with missiles, Dark Sides. I don't like the missiles. I like the Dark Sides though. Raider with Splinter Axe. Excellent. Raider with Grizzlies and a Shock Prow. Okay, expensive Raiders. Cult of Strife Patrol as a second one with a Succubus, with Precision Blows, Dark Lotus Toxin, Razor Flails. Cool. So the Mortal Wound Succubus. Excellent. 5 Witches, 5 Mandrakes, and a third patrol, Dark Techno Monsters, with Drazar, a Homunculus Master. Interesting choice. Master Homunculus, Helm of Spite, Chemical Maestro, and nothing else. With 10 Hemoxites, 3 Kronos, and a single Venom with Grizzly Trophies. So everything's good, everything's good. And then you get to the Dark Tech Patrol. Drazar is okay. You made him the Warlord. Okay. Which technically, I believe, changes what your Succubus can take, I think. It like as per the letter of the wording. You know, I like using Drazar is not a Warlord, but you know, he's very killy. And then you are spending 100 points on a Master Homunculus that then doesn't have Twisted Reanimator for the Hemok sites. So you're like, it's killing power over survivability. And I feel like you could take that Homunculus out and put in another Succubus to kill stuff that would be like 10 times better. Personally, in this list specifically. Or take the Venom out. That random Venom just seems really random. Maybe a third Raider would be better to like fit more stuff in the Raider. Because you can put Hemok sites in a Raider, and then they can go around like flying and like murdering things or whatever. And that always is really fun to do as well. So, yeah, but if you agree or disagree with my choices, please let me know in the chat. Also, if you're tuning in live, thanks for hanging out with me today. And I am reading the chat, so you can always like pop in and say something in the chat or whatever, leave a comment, that sort of stuff. But it feels like there's a couple of things in this list. Like it just depends on how, like Chris, just depends on how competitive you want to be with it. Like if you're trying to be very efficient, points efficient, competitive with it, there's a couple of things in there that I'd be like, do you really need this? If yes, continue. If you don't really need it, it probably would be better over here using points. So something to consider. Okay, so those are the lists that were on the Patreon page, on the Patreon blog page submitted today. So now let's go over to the Patreon Discord and take a look at all of those. Bob Manias says, go Black Templars. I know. I got some pictures back from my commission painter today of how my Black Templars are coming along. And this dude is happy, is excited about life. Oh, yeah, baby. Okay, so looking at the Discord ones, and then Brookie is is putting a list in as we speak. Amazing. You're typing out a list, are you? Okay, so Tactical Terrain Eric says, this is Sean's list from Battle for Salvation. It's a raiding party, so patrols. Strife Patrol with Lilith, Succubus with Precision Blows, Dark Lotus, Razor Flails. 3-5 strong units of Witches with Blast Pistol, Hypex. One has more veins. A Poison Tongue Patrol with a Court with a Slith and 2 Urgols. It's just like really cheap Court. An Archon with Ancient Evil Blast Pistol. A Drazar. 5 Trueborn with Blaster Blast Pistol. 5 Cavalite Warriors, Blaster, Blast Pistol, 2 units of 5 Incubi, 3 Venoms with Grizzly Trophies, 3 Venoms with double cannons, and then a Flayed Skull Patrol, another Master Archon with Succubus of the Triptych Whip, 5 Trueborn, Blaster, Blast Pistol, 5 Incubi, 5 Mandrakes, 2 Venoms. I'm intrigued by this list. Would love to hear your thoughts. Okay, so we're getting into Sean Naden tech, are we? Oh, I hope to play those new Templars when you get them home. Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. Those new Templars are going to be fantastic. So let's dive into Sean Naden's list for the Battle for Salvation. Now, Sean Naden, first of all, is a magician. Secondly, I played Venoms, 13 of them, in 2018. 2018, 19, when they weren't cool yet. So apparently I was just ahead of the curve. But this list is about being able to hide. So Venoms are a lot easier to hide than Raiders. They're cheaper. They come with a -1 to hit stock. So they can be more survivable in a lot of situations. And then it plays, like it relies on the characters to do most of the heavy lifting, which he's very good at doing. He has the Poison Tongue for some redeployment, so he can like redeploy or put stuff in reserve. Especially his While We Stand, We Fight targets, which just happen to be Drazar and both of the Archons, I believe, and maybe Lilith. So he can legitimately put like the Archons or Lilith and Drazar like in a Venom and then move them off the board and like keep his 15 points for While We Stand, We Fight just off the table until turn 5, and then just bring them on and then like take the points. The Trueborn, like small units of Trueborn with a Blaster Blast Pistol, a really fun unit. I tried those out. They just hit very efficiently with their blaster. I love that he has the blast pistols because Venoms are very, very fast. So they can get in, and before you know it, you'll have, what is it, 5 units of witches with a blast pistol. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this list has 13 dark light weapons. It's like having 13 dark lances in your list, but it's not an apparent. It's like double the amount of dark light that you see in like a 6 raider list, right? However, they're all in little venoms, and they can fly, blow something up, fly, blow something up. And then it's like a wolf pack because they're fast enough to sort of like fly all over the place and jump in on stuff. So all in all, it's just a very technical list. And he has so many little hey Mikey, what's going on? He has so many little so many small units of like Cabalites and stuff that and witches that it plays the mission really well, especially denying your opponent points because Venoms can move, block, and get in the way and stop people from scoring and tag things in close combat, and they're just very versatile a unit that your opponent has to deal with. And then you can just like send little five witches to their death, and then 5 more witches to their death. And then if something gets through or in, then you can put all the killy characters in on something and just murder it. So it's got tools, and that's what makes this list shine. Nothing pops out at you straight away except maybe Drazar and Lilith, but they're like distraction card effects. The rest of the list works really well as small elements that come together to fight as big elements once the game started. So just saying. But I hope that offers some insight as to how the list works, as well as it uses a lot of stratagems and stuff and does secondaries well and scores well. Grim posted a list. We've got some Death Guard, amazing. So the play company is the Inexorable. We have a Death Guard Demon Prince, wings and revoltingly resilient. We have a Malignant Plague Caster. We have 20 Poxwalkers, 5 Blightlord Terminators, Chaos Spawn, 1 Plague Burst Crawler with 2 cannons and a slugger. And then we have a battalion detachment of Chaos Demons, which is a Great Unclean one with the Revoltingly Resilient, a Lord of Change with all the gubbins. He is the Warlord. We have Sloppity Bile Piper. We have 2 units of 3 Nurglings, 30 Plague Bearers, 5 Plague Drones for 2,000 points. I'm wondering what secondaries are good for this. And I can take, for sure, every game, and also the Blight Lord's weapon choice. So as for the Blight Lords, just keep them cheap. Don't spend too much on the Blight Lords themselves. The Axe and the Bolters tend to be good. The Combi Bolter Axe, that's all you really need. You've got stratagems to make them do better in terms of being like turning them into plague weapons and things like that. As for secondary choices, you've got, well, While We Stand We Fight can be a good one because you do have, like, to the last, my apologies, a Great Unclean one, a Lord of Change. Those 2 are almost unkillable, and then you have a ginormous unit of Plague Bearers. So you have 3 very hard to kill units. Number 1. Number 2, you can go for something like Stranglehold to hold 3 objectives and at least more than your opponent, which is another really good one with the amount of Poxwalkers you have, pressure you can put on objectives, that sort of thing. And it means that you can keep your army relatively close. You don't have to spread out to try and get engage on all fronts and things like that. And then the third one, with the Lord of Change, it's quite easy to do Demonic Ritual to get in and do Psychic Ritual in the middle of the board. However, if you are playing against something that can deny psychic powers or very annoying, then it's hard to get that. However, if you do it, you have the list that can do it. It literally just comes in, you do get 15 points, then Lord of Change is very unlikely to die, so is a Great Unclean one. The Plague Bearers, if you don't put them right at the front, they're also very unlikely to just get murdered. So you should get 10 to 15 points for that. And then Stranglehold will just be about fighting over the objectives. And then you should be able to get some decent amount of points on that as well. / maybe the mission one, which is Direct Assault, which is a good one, or vital intelligence if you want to put a lot of pressure on, like in the mid board, which is gather intel or something like that, and or priority targets, which is like a go-to pick it 100% of the time. But yeah, and over time, it's best thing to do with secondaries is process of elimination, right? So grab an entire list of what you could take and just scratch out the ones that don't make any sense, and then only pick from the ones that make the most sense. And eventually you'll go, well, this makes sense, and this makes sense, but this one makes more sense. And it's easier to do it by eliminating your choices. But thank you for posting a list. Next one is Carl Malone. Says, this is my current list for a 20-person ITC tournament. We have a couple of pros coming who are top 10. Should be good fun. Nice. It's always good to play, especially in like small events where there's like a shark's tank of good players, because you're going to get some very good practice. We have those around here all the time. You go to a little hole-in-the-wall RTT that's like 10 to 12 people, and like 8 of them or 10 of them are like Team Canada players. So we like just practice, basically. Last time I only lost the one match against the pro dude due to a misplay. I practiced the list again against Dreadnought / Invictor spam. It was fine, even though he went first. He had aggressively deployed, basically killed all my boats. Turn 1, next turn started wiping stuff out. And tabled him by turn 4. Beastmaster and Fiend was terrible. I cut them. Any ideas on adjustments? I have multiples of every model. Yes, I did notice that you upgraded to the Scourge tier. Thank you very much for your support on Patreon. I thank you so much, Carl. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's dive into this. So your list itself is Patrol, Drukari, triple patrols. You've got Blackheart, Cult of Strife, and Poison Tongue. Cool. So you're running Archon with Trueborn, basic loadouts there. 5 Incubi, 3 Raiders in the Blackheart. Then we've got a Succubus with not a Master Succubus, interesting, with random drugs. Okay, Precision Blows, and the Triptych Whip, cool. I just go for +1 attack. Don't do random. Witches, 3 units of 5, cool. Beastmaster, okay. 2 Claude Fiends. I thought you said you dropped the Claude Fiends. Unless I misread that. Poison Tongue, we have an Archon, not a Master, just with an Agonizer and a Splinter Pistol. Cool. 10 more Trueborn. Incubi, 2 Void Raven Bombers. Amazing. And 4 Venoms with double cannons. Excellent. Those are Poison Tongue, so they can redeploy. You got the 2 Void Raven Bombers. I like how you've built the list, to be honest. It's really cool. If you don't like the Claude Fiends, by the way, you should be putting in like, find 10 points. Well, 2 Claude Fiends is 50 points plus Beastmaster is 90 points. You could literally put like a unit of Hellions in for that. Like, to be honest, if you want to drop them, just put the Hellions in. The rest of the list is great. It works really well. But I think you could use just 5 Hellions and kind of put those in the list. And you'll benefit greatly from being able to score points, to doing actions, to the killing power of a unit of Strife Hellions, which is quite big. As for the little tighten things up, you want to make sure you're putting, you're picking the drug for your Succubus, especially if she has the Triptych Whip and Precision Blows. You just want like extra attacks more than you're likely. And Competitive Edge is probably the thing I would recommend to take with the Triptych Whip. I take Blood Dancer because I like exploding 6s. However, if you want to do like consistent tournament level damage, Competitive Edge is probably your best bet for a Triptych Whip Succubus. The 2 Archons are good. You can't really go wrong with them. As for the Relic, I'm a huge fan of the Animus Vitae. I think it's nice to kind of sneak that in there somewhere so you can get like the better invulnerable save, like for a turn early, or being able to advance and charge on turn 1 with anything that's not Blackheart, that sort of thing. But let me know what you think, right? In terms of adjustments, that's all I would do. It's a very simple adjustment. You don't have to tweak the whole list. Just pull out one piece and then add something else, then play it with the change and see how it feels. And based on how that feels, then you can kind of go in various directions. But thanks for putting a list. I appreciate it. Diego Sanchez says, hello and good day. Hello. Here's my list. Thank you in advance. Well, you're welcome in advance. The Lament Configuration. Drukari Real Space Raid. Okay, cool. Archon Warlord, Blackheart, Blast Pistol, Hatred, Ginblade. Nice. A Homunculus Artists, Alchemical Maestro, Master Regenist. Succubus, Cultist Strife, Show Stealer Precision, Random Combat Drugs, Triptych Whip. Once again, take the random combat drugs out of here. Put +1 attack on her. Please, please, and thank you. Diego says, I forgot you can't use strats of Cultist Strife in the Real Space Raid, but maybe I can use Red Grief or divide them as Triple Troll. Yeah, if you divide as Triple Troll, that's the easiest, then you get access to all the Cultist Strife strats if you really, really want the stratagems. 10 Trueborn, 10 Hemoxites with a whip, 5 racks, 7 witches. Interesting. 5 Incubi, 5 Mandrakes, 5 Hellions, 5 Hellions. Excellent. 5 Reavers with a Graph Talent and a Heat Lance. Nice. You don't need the Heat Lance, but I'd keep the Graph Talent. 2 Kronos with Spirit Vortex, a Ravager, 2 Talos with Heat Lance, Chain Flails, Macro Scalpels. Cut those Chain Flails off like this and put Ichor Injectors on. I'm telling you right now, Ichor Injectors are pure money. They're so good. Just take Ichor Injectors. Like, there's a debate between Macro Scalpel, which is -1 to hit, minus its AP3, 3 damage, and the Macro Scalpel, or the, Talos Gauntlet and the Macro Scalpel. There's a debate there to be had. Some people like the 3 damage AP3, which is fine, but it's -1 to hit, so I don't like it. But in terms of Chain Flails, that used to be the old thing. Honestly, if you can, excuse me, make sure that you change them to Ichor Injectors. Raider with Splinter X. Another Raider. Cool. Artist capture and hold objectives. Makes sense. Blackheart goes pew pew. You get a thumbs up for me because that's the best. That's the best accurate description of what Blackheart does I've ever seen in my life. Incubi and Witches go melee. Mandrakes hanging around. I paid Cult Upgrade just for Show Stealer. Yeah, I have some units on maybe like Grotesques. Seem very durable with Artists. They are very durable with Artists. Maybe 4 Grotesques, just 1 Voidering Bomb instead of Ravager. Just have 1. And the Scourge. Are those birds relevant nowadays? Thanks a lot. So the Scourge can be relevant, especially in a Real Space Raid detachment. Should you put 1 Void Raven Bomber in? I don't like a single Void Raven Bomber. I think if you're going to do Void Raven Bomber, you need at least 2 to maximize. But keep the Ravager in, that's fine. If anything, you could take the Ravager out and then find some points and put in 2 more Talos, because I really like Talos. I think if you can do like 3 to 4 Talos, that's like where I would be at. If you drop the Ravager, you could probably put like at least 1 Talos in and then have a few points left over for something. Maybe make the Reaver squad bigger just to like maximize it. And then maybe put a couple of Venoms in just to kind of, be sneaky. And that's a good list. It's like you can't really go wrong with the Drukari list right now because it's just everything is good, right? There's just varying degrees of good. Ichor Injectors it will be. Yes, indeed. And I hope we have set you straight with today's video. Alex, by the way, Diego, thank you so much for posting a list. I appreciate it. Alex says, work in progress. So this is a Necron battalion detachment. Do you think while we stand, going back to Diego, do you think while we stand, we fight could work with Artists? I do. I think they do. If there's anything that's survivable, it's Artists of the Flesh. Yes, 100%. Alex says Necron battalion. So we've got Catacomb Command Barge. We talked about this after our coaching game the other day. So we talked about like tweaking the list. So hopefully this is a tweaked list that you've kind of thought about. Catacomb Command Barge with the Voltaic Staff and Enduring Will. Catacomb Command Barge with the Rarefied Nobility Veil of Darkness. Interesting. That's kind of cool, actually. And Eternal Madness. Okay. Then we have 10 warriors, 10 warriors, 10 warriors with Reapers, just cheapos, bones, Necron warriors. 2 Crypto Thralls, 5 Flayed ones for some shenanigans with actions. 8 Lich Guard. Oh, I like that you fit the Lich Guard in. That's cool. Yeah, no problem, Diego. Scorptech Destroyers. So we have 3 of them? 2 units of 3. Interesting. Why the MSU? I'm curious. Why not just clump them up into one big unit? Then we have 3 Scarabs, 3 Scarabs, 3. Oh, you kept the Ophidians in there. Interesting. And then 3 Locust Heavy Destroyers with a Gauss Destructor, and 2 Ghost Arcs. Veil can be used to get the Lich Guard into central position to make up for the lack of speed. The third 10-stronger warrior unit and the Crypto Thralls go into Strategic Reserve for CP. Good use of a CP. The Locust Heavy Destroyers are an interesting choice. As singles, I guess they're, okay. I've seen people take Locust Destroyers, not the heavies, as action monkeys because they're like individual units of infantry. And the Gauss Destructor can be really dangerous, but you can't that's the thing about this list is you kind of want to hide. At the same time, you have to put a lot of pressure on your opponent. So they're great for backboard zoning and just taking pot shots at stuff. That is more of a thing that I need to see in action to really kind of understand what that unit would be good at. Because I feel like it's got a couple of wounds, it's got an okay save, right? Space Marine save, and if you just focus on it, it dies. But because you're doing MSU, you're doing multiple threat overload. It's like, what are you going to shoot? Are you going to shoot the Locust Heavy Destroyers that do pretty much nothing? Or are you going to shoot the Lich Guard that come beat you up? Or are you going to shoot the warriors that are going to take all the objectives? Or are you going to try and get the Catacomb Command Barges that are going to run in and charge you and fight you and shoot you and stuff like that, right? Interesting. For the Scorpex, heavy Locusts are infantry as well, only 10 points more, so can still be action monkeys. Interesting. But that's really good because if you have small little units that are relatively fast by Necron standards, you can, go and get engage points and things like that. Plus, they're all obsec. I miss the fact that there's no bikes. I love the bikes, but I guess that's the when you get to that what are they, 50 points each or something? When you get that last 200 points in the list, that's the hardest. Because everything else, you're like, okay, I like this. This is the core. 1,800 points is the core of my list. And this happens to all of us who build lists. And then you go, the last 200 points is the hardest 200 points to sort of fit in. Because you're like, I could take this out and then add this, or I could add this, and then this does this. And it can be hard to make a choice. Personally, in my competitive list, it's between Reaver jet bikes and a Ravager, right? And I'm like, which one should I put in, basically? Also help demech, which I'm terrible at. Yeah, that does give you a demeching ability without going for a Doomsday arc, which is has the capability of demeching someone, but is a D6 shot weapon, right? Scorpex are just obsec missiles because they're relatively fast. They are faster than your normal infantry, that's true. I put the hex mark in. Did you put a hex mark in here? Oh my gosh, I missed him. Hex mark. He was sneaky. He was hiding all along in the list. Excellent. That's good. I love the hex mark. The shenanigans you can pull with that model are incredible. Yeah, backfield objective holders, disrupts deep striking because he comes in, I think, right away. As soon as somebody deep strikes something, you can use the strat to interrupt people's deep strikes, which means that if they have multiple deep strikes they want to put down, you can interrupt and then put the hex mark in a location that then disrupts the other stuff they want to put down, especially if they have a character and then a unit they want to put down with the character, and they put the character down and you put the hex mark 9 inches away, and then they can't put the unit where they wanted to put the unit because now there's a hex mark in the way. It's pretty snazzy, not gonna lie. But all in all, I like this version 2.0 of the list. It's more MSU. You got a lot more throwaway units. And I feel like that's kind of how you have to play Necrons. You can't really play like large blocks of heavy infantry because you're just gonna, you'll run into 10 witches and they'll kill 20 Necron warriors as quickly as they kill 5 flayed ones, right? Ooh, that's a good point. Never thought of him to screen like that. Oh yeah, because it's a reactive deep strike mechanic, anti-deep strike, same as death marks, right? You can literally be like, oh, you have Shrike and a bunch of Vanguards. And so what they'll do is they'll sometimes say, okay, I just need this character back here so I get my aura to affect the people when they charge in. And you can be like, I'm going to interrupt you. And then you put the hex mark down and literally like zone out the deep strikers even further. And they're like, oh no. And you're like, ha ha ha. My hex mark is sneakier than your stuff. And like John the Cron uses it like that all the time. But thank you very much, Alex, for your list. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to throw down again in a coaching game, which will be really fun. Brookie bites. Now it's Brookie time. Let's do this. So this is a Poison Tongue patrol, I'm assuming, with a Lamian Slith Urgle. Okay. Yeah, no problem, Alex. Have a great weekend. Thanks for hanging out. We have an Archon Blast Pistol Agonizer with Consummate Weapon Master and the Soul Helm. So +1 damage and the Soul Helm. Okay, so that's a great little combo with the Agonizer. Makes the Agonizer 2 damage, right? Soul Helm is a 5-up ignore damage. So, okay, is it worth kind of getting rid of reroll or wound rolls or fight lost with Ancient Evil or Hatred Eternal? Yeah, to be honest, I have looked at that and been like, oh, that'd be really cool on a Poison Tongue Agonizer because I'm wounding you on 3s instead of 4s, right? You have another Archon with a Blast Pistol, Power Sword, and the Helm of Spite, and then Drazar, who is the Warlord with his Hatred Eternal. So there's your killing power in Drazar. There's Hatred Eternal, so you can't take Hatred Eternal. So there you go. That makes sense. It's a battalion. Oh, okay, just a battalion of Poison Tongue. Cool. You have 10 Trueborn, double Blaster Dark Lance. You have 2 times just Cabalite Warriors with a Blaster. Cool. You have 2 times not 10 Incubi, and then 1 times 5 Incubi. Whoa. I would not want to be on the receiving end of 25 Incubi. I don't own that many. I own 15. Or I would try and like play a list with more than them. 3 units of Scourge of 5 each with 4 Dark Lances. So you're looking at 4 Dark Lances in a unit of Scourge times 3, 12 Dark Lances. And then you have 1, 2, 3 Raiders with Chain Snares, Grizzly Trophies, Phantasms, and a Shock Brow. And the other one has Splinter X. And then 2 Venoms with Grizzly Trophies, Splinter Cannon. No, 1, 2, 3. 3. So, just trying new stuff. Yeet, kill, die fast, die fast. Could cut out a few things. Yes. It's what we call trimming the fat. And you have a lot of upgrades on a bunch of stuff that you probably don't need. I like moving everything up to set up turn 2 or 3. And I'm assuming you would like to have more things to go and choppy chop murder stuff people with. So if you take some of the upgrades out, you'll have more stuff to just swarm the board with, which is always fun. Deep striking the Scourge to hold the back line, deny enemy deep strike. Yeah. Also, this list is because I had to fight knights one time. So I need more Dark Lances. Excellent. Taking Herd the Prey has always scored well. That's a good secondary. Keep picking that one. That one's good. Not sure about other secondaries. Herd the Prey, Retrieve Octera's data is usually the 2 standards that I go for, or Engage in all fronts, or Herd the Prey. And then the third one is like the meh. You could do While We Stand, We Fight with a big unit of 2 units of Incubi and Drazar. Doesn't really make sense because they're just gonna go and like get murdered. But that's like your other choice. Other than that, either Mission 1, if it's not terrible, or like killing Assassinate's not bad. Like, we can actually kill characters a lot of the time, or killing tanks or a Titanic, or you just have to. The third one is the hard one, but as I said, use process of elimination to pick the best one. So just to give you an idea, right? Because I want you to take this list concept and then take it and come back with it. Number one, you don't need the second Archon. The Helm of Spite's meh. So take the that's 70 points you save. Okay, then you can take chain snares, grizzly trophies, and phantasm grenade launcher off of like every raider. Maybe not grizzly trophies. Say no grizzly trophies, but say chain snares and the phantasm. So you're looking at 10, 20, 30, 40, 40, then 50, 50 points. So that's 70 plus 50 is 100, 120 points. So you could literally put in like a whole other Venom with like 5 more Cavalry Warriors almost to have more models and more units on the table. And I always prefer taking more models and more units than more upgrades. If you just took Raiders bare bones and had a few with Grizzly trophies just for the Clavex and stuff like that, no shock brows, nothing like nuts like that, like your units would be a lot cheaper. You saved like 20 points per Raider. And you'd be able to put in like a whole other Raider plus another unit, or Mandrakes, or something else like a Ravager. If you want more Dark Lances, you could probably fit in a whole Ravager for that, right? So just something to keep in mind. Other than that, thank you so much, Brookie, for putting up a list. I really, really appreciate it. And because you're using your Raiders as fodder to soak up all the damage, you don't want to put a lot of points into them. Keep them cheap. If their job is to just die, then they're not going to do anything. So just send them up to die cheaper than if they were like super expensive and whatnot. Well, that is all I have for today's list crunch. Don't forget, it is a healthy dose of list crunch that keeps your competitive diet going. A huge and ultimate shout out to all the denizens, the Patreon community. You guys are amazing. I love every single one of the interactions that we have. You're all awesome. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. I will be on Monday. You'll get to see me on Meta Monday again and doing more stuff. I have a tournament tomorrow, so stay tuned for pictures on social media. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment on it, let me know what you thought, and if you'd like to see more. Other than that, that's it. I've been Skari. No problem, Brookie. Thank you, Mikey. I guess I prefer Mikey, Brookie. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. I appreciate that you appreciate the positivity. And as you can see, I'm building some cool Titans and stuff, which is going to be really fun. And there's some stuff that I haven't used in a while because, sadly, they're not as good as they were before. Other than that, I've been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. The Dark Kin.